What's going on, guys? Welcome to episode 1 of
the CIVA Papers. I almost draw a blank. I was like, what's it called?
As you guys can see, this is clearly the first episode. As Akeem said, this is the CIVA Papers. The shit you're supposed to learn in school. I'm Jermaine Hartsfield, fellow co-founder of the technology platform called CIVA.
And I'm Akeem Evans, co-founder of CIVA, and that's kind of what helped us play on words for the CIVA Papers. I'm a big fan of the book, The Federalist Papers. I don't know if you guys see here. I think it was really interesting, and the way they laid it out, is how we plan to lay out what's going on now. It's just leaning from their time of democracy to our government, creation to our time of where we are now in the evolution. So super excited to be doing this.
If you guys didn't know already, give you a quick introduction. Akeem's our resident policy expert. I'm the Chat GPT version of the layman's. So if Akeem says something very smart, I'll try to bring it down to let's say the grassroots level, if that makes sense. So today we're going to be talking about Executive Order 14247, which essentially kind of discusses how the federal government has plans to phase out paper checks by September 30th of this year to cut costs, speed up payments, and fight fraud. This executive order mandates all agencies to shift to digital payments like direct deposits, prepaid cards, remember rush cards, and digital wallets, while making limited exceptions for those without access, which is kind of interesting. It's a big step towards modernizing how money moves in and out of America's bank accounts.
Yeah, I think as we kind of lean into the America's bank account, it's even in the order, I'm pretty sure we're not going to read it, but everyone can read it. It's on the government White House website. It's called moving money out of the United States General Fund. And, I think that's a concept that most people would kind of get, but need to become more familiar with. But it's essentially think of the U.S. General Fund as America's checkbook is the way they put it. It has the assets and liabilities used to finance the daily and long-term operations of the U.S. government as a whole. And it includes accounts used in the management of the budget of the U.S. government. And even something I think is super interesting why, the modernization effect helps this transition is because if the way they look at it is the U.S. general fund, but then every state and agency and everyone has their own little mini general funds. And some people are doing technology movements and then, modern, how do I say this? Modern electronic payments, and then some people are doing paper ledgers. Imagine trying to balance that budget for all of the accountants out there, which, Jermaine, I know you have some background, so you can definitely attest. If you imagine you're getting 90,000 different budgets, some in written paper pictures and some in digital Excel sheets, and they're all right, you have a couple months to make this make sense and tell everybody what it means. So I think, if we had our own, feedback on it, a movement towards a more modern electronic payment system kind of makes sense. What do you think?
I'm fully with it, just because I've had experiences, whether it's with our company and other companies in the past, where we're working with local government offices, federal government offices that, it's just slow, man. Waiting for a paper check, there's so many things that could happen. It can get lost in the mail. Just all stuff. It's not as efficient. We can trade stocks. We can do so much from our phone and from our computers. I just think that this is one of the few improvements that I see that's kind of happening now that I think would be very beneficial. But like everything, there's always another side to the sword, because there are people who may not be as I want to say tech savvy, for lack of a better term, and may not have access to whether it's bank accounts and ability to have prepaid cards and things like that. So I think there's always going to be a learning curve, because I could imagine, say, for Social Security payments or other payments that eventually move to completely digital. Like, how do we get some of our more senior population kind of like, up to speed and making sure that they have the resources available to them, so that way they can receive whatever payments they need.
No, definitely. And I think even in the order references a couple things like CFR 208 part 31 CFR part 208, which essentially just says the same thing that we're talking about, like it becoming more how to say electronic fund transfer for at least most of the agencies. But they do have, I think it's 208.4 that have exceptions that, disaster, inability, and different reasons that don't have to catch up to this. But then also, in my mind, I'm wondering like what happens if they don't do this? Like then it's 2.9. It's like they can give a charge, but it's like I think as we try to expand this, the big cities like the New Yorks, the LA, the San Franciscos, we throw in Atlanta, can potentially
there's a lot of people here, so
can potentially adopt this, so it shouldn't be as bad. And we definitely, like you said, have stories of them sending paper checks to us that makes it a headache. But I think that a lot of the more rural cities and towns, come together and have like 300 to 500 people, and their city hall is a house. They might have trouble with this, but it is our goal to get everyone up to that speed. And like I said, just with the Department of Treasury, which I like for us to stop really quickly and talk about who these different people are. So we said the Department of Treasury, and we have to highlight like who the Secretary of the Treasury is. I suck at saying their name, so I might mess this up. So it's Scott Dissent. Is that how you say it?
I think so. It'll get me in trouble, man. Tomorrow, these people may reach out to me, man.
Yeah, no, right? Like you're butchering our name, so apologize. It's episode 1. If we mess up your name, we said it from episode 1 that we might say your name wrong. So
yep.
You can always come back and reference here. Apologizing now, not going to do it again, but we might mess up your name again. But yeah, it was interesting his transition to being Secretary of Treasury. He went from like CEO of like Key Square Capital Management, and we are by no means investigative journalists, but just want to give you some high level background based on their profiles on their respective agency sites. So we're not making this up. You can go back and look it up. That's what they put online. That's what they said in their bios. And if you want to do a deep dive, there are a bunch of other podcasts you can check out that do a deeper dive into people's whatever they are. So
are these the like the coordinators of this particular, I guess, order?
Yeah. So if you look in the order, there's a part where it says that the Secretary of Treasury, Secretary of State, Secretary of Health and Human Services, Secretary of Education, and the Secretary of Veteran Affairs are supposed to come together and kind of help make the processes and make this a reality through the through the Department of Treasury. So that's why we're bringing them up, and I thought it was super important as we talk about these different orders and the people involved to put a face and a name to the position, because it's like we say the Secretary of Treasury, and like we talked about, of the people we're going to talk about now, they may know Marco Rubio because he's on every news headline nowadays, and then RFK, which is Robert F. Kennedy. I think junior, right? He's a junior.
Yeah. I thought you said KFC for some reason.
It's too early.
Kind of hungry.
But yeah, so then even that. So Secretary of State, they're part of it. Marco Rubio, which interesting. City Commissioner in West Miami. Have we been to West Miami?
I didn't know there was a West Miami. I thought it was just Miami. And I'm sorry, Florida. I just didn't know. I thought it was just a Miami. I didn't realize there was a West Miami. But,
Exactly. I didn't know either. But then it's the speaker. He was the Speaker of the House for the Florida Representatives. And obviously everyone knows him as U.S. Senator. Then RFK, which is the Attorney General, was the attorney for River Keep nonprofit. I don't think I've heard of that one. Have you ever River Keeper?
No. I've heard of them.
And then he started his own Water Keeper Alliance. I guess it was a spinoff of River Keeper, but one doing his own thing. And then Children's Health Defense. And then a couple more people involved, just really quickly. Secretary of Education Linda E. McMahon, which everyone probably know the McMahon name from WWE. So she was a teacher that then went on to be on the State Board of Education before becoming CEO of WWE. And then, interestingly enough, she ran for Senate twice in Connecticut, but was unsuccessful. But then during Trump's
Oh,
first,
hold on real quick.
uh-huh.
Oh, so she really was the Linda McMahon.
Exactly, yeah, 100%.
James McMahon's mom.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's crazy. I'm sorry, guys. I grew up I grew up a fan of WWE when it was WWF, and man, she got stunned by Stone Cold. That's a sick story.
Really?
Yeah, Stone Cold stunned the entire family one time. So that's a kind of cool thing. Our Secretary of Education got stunned by Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Thank you.
I didn't know that. See, I didn't even know that.
This is what CIVA does for you guys. Bring you facts.
I know, right? Bring you back to the basis so you can put references. What happened after she did WA? She became administrator for the SBA from 2017 to 2019. And then between then and now, she chaired the America's First Policy Institute. Interesting nonprofit, nonpartisan research institute think tank. Again, not a investigative journalist, so I'll leave that to someone else to make a spinoff video to do their own interpretation and understanding and breakdown of what that is. Or if everyone asks and say, talk more about that, put in the comments, and then we can go and make a video about that. But you guys got to ask for it. Then you have the Veteran Affairs, Doug Collins, which from Georgia like me, but then I think one of the most interesting, obviously he's an interesting person because he was a congressman, had a law firm, Air Force Reserve chaplain, but for 2020, Trump's 2025 joint address to Congress, he was the designated survivor. So I just thought of the TV show, Designated Survivor, because I was like, oh, it's interesting. Not every day I was like, oh, this is a designated.
That's not the show with Keith Sutherland, right? No, that's 24.
Yeah, I don't know who the actors are.
Good show,
I would mess up names. I suck at remembering names, but I do know that there's a show called Designated Survivor for the president. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. And then lastly, Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem. I'm going to go with that. I might be saying this wrong. But yeah, she was South Dakota's governor, only female governor, or first female governor. And then she was a congresswoman for South Dakota, which I thought was interesting. I think South Dakota only gets one representative in the House of Representatives for Congress. Out of 435, I think you only get one seat, if I'm not mistaken.
What they're going to be based on their population or something like that.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's probably the reason why.
So it's super interesting, especially for South Dakota, that the transition, because don't know much about South Dakota. Not trying to get in trouble like Charles Barkley did when he talked about some state. But yeah, that's who are all the players in the order, just to kind of break that down. But again, you can go read the entire thing on the White House website.
Which we'll add to this video right below. Check us out.
Exactly. So Jermaine, I took us on a tangent. I know we wanted to hit then with this, recordings, get people to understand about government and the different people and ways break up and provide additional context, putting faces and names to positions, so people can kind of understand more, and then peel back layers of how these things apply. So as we keep doing this, what are you thinking? What's your thoughts as we kind of listed out all the secretaries?
Well, I mean, I think it's a good start, right? We talk about an order that we know for sure would affect many people here within the country, just because so many people receive different payments from agencies in a variety of different ways. So I think it's cool to start kind of adding our piece to, our country's culture in terms of trying to enlighten us with some of the, public sector information in a way that I think is kind of cool, layman's version terms of this. So I think we covered kind of what we needed to in terms of this specific order. Again, guys, we'll put the order number at the bottom of this video, so that way you have a reference point and see where you can start. But expect many more like this, and we look forward to kind of reading your comments, looking at feedback, trying to see what we can improve, what we can add, and if you want to add your expertise to the show, because we'll be coming at you guys weekly. Until then, CIVA out.
Wait, hold on. Before we leave, I did want to say this. If we do get 100 likes, I'll make it official and buy one of those cool mics that everyone has. You know, every podcast has a mic where it's like you got to have like this random mic.
We're startup founders, guys, which means we eat spam and ramen noodles, the cup version. Cup version.
I'm Peruvian. We eat corned beef.
with a bit of spice.
Exactly. All right.
All right, folks.